Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 11 of our exploration of all things magic. 15 minutes of time in our collective journey, trying to figure out how to put magic into little 15 is certainly a an epic adventure for me, but I hope even more than that, it's a great opportunity for all of you to set aside 15 minutes a day to at least think about what it would mean to bring more magic into your own lives. So, I am Donna Woodwell. I am the owner of the Crossroads of Magic and Mastery, where you are watching this, or maybe you're watching this someplace else. This is where the video originated. I am also the headmistress of the School of Magic and Mastery, where I provide all things that you could possibly need in order to develop your magical studies and practice. Hello, Boris. It's good to see you. You are always first. You're always first online, and I am so grateful for you showing up, not just for me in this conversation, but for yourself. Hello, Pat. We have another of our regulars here. Feel free for anyone who's watching this, chime in whenever you want. I can see you when you are commenting. I think there's a little bit of a delay, but not much. And I will try to answer your questions at least by the end of this session. Today, we are going to be talking about high and low magic. I don't know if you've ever heard the terms before, but humans love to divide up the world into either or categories. It makes us feel like we have some control over which box something fits in. But on a deeper level, it also helps us to explore how things relate to one another. It's a fundamental tenet of our human consciousness that we understand things by compare and contrast. This, not that. And it is a great tool, given that our brains are wired to do this. Our consciousness is not on all the time. In fact, it's kind of flashing like a strobe light, really quickly, on and off, on and off, on and off. And we notice when things change between the on and the off. That's how we know where to look. That's how we know what to focus on, because our brains are wired in this digital way. If things happen faster than our brains are flashing on and off, we don't even notice them. They go into our subconscious, and we may perceive them on a deeper level, but our talky minds totally miss the boat. So this is why we tend to conceive of everything in terms of their polar opposites. And talking about magic in these polar opposite terms, high magic versus low magic, is just one of these conceptual things that magicians have used to talk about what we do. Idea probably originated back in the Renaissance era when magic was coming back into trendy elite speak with the renaissance of classical thought, with authors like Marsilio Ficino and Trithemius, and the arguments that they were having between them about the source of magic and so on. Don't care about all that. But for the purposes of this conversation, high magic, today we think of it as very formalized, very ceremonial magic that uses lots of sophisticated astrology to plan out what ritual action should be taken. Lots of robes, lots of formulated rituals, formulaic rituals that are passed on, grades of practice, a very structured magical system. Versus low magic, which tends to be the kitchen witchery, hedge witchery, use what you have to make magic to get what you need, connect with spirits, work with them in a more shamanic kind of way. And that's one way the words have been used, but they've also been used in other ways. Sometimes people think high magic is more like white magic, low magic is like black magic. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, so that's a whole nother conversation. Or when people talk about it, they might mean that high magic means working on an abstract level, that you're tuning the pattern of your intentions. You're working with that level of mind stuff, positive thinking, law of attraction in order to pull stuff into manifestation. Whereas low magic, you're using the physical stuff around you, herbs and stones and setting up altars and things that you can touch and manipulate, earthy things to get 3D practical results. So these are the divisions that have been promulgated in our magical conversations. The thing is, with any division, what you end up with is some people on one side, all those intellectual snobs who are doing all that high magic, feeling superior and elitist, versus the, oh, we're doing real magic over here because we are actually working with physical stuff, connecting to the earth and our earth mother, and therefore we are doing something more tangible, meaningful, and goddess centric, however you want to think about it. For our purposes, we have to recognize that whenever we get into these divisional fights, they tend to repeat themselves in lots of places and lots of ways. So given that many people here have astrological backgrounds, you can think of high magic as like solar magic and low magic is like lunar magic. Can you imagine what would happen to the solar system if we lost the sun? Probably. It would be awfully dark. Everything on the earth would eventually die because we would be thrown off as a planet into the cold darkness of space. There would be no life. Much more subtle to recognize that the moon is also as essential for life. The moon stabilizes the earth. It keeps us from wobbling so much that long periods of relatively constant temperatures and location can enable sophisticated life forms to evolve on Earth. The Earth pulls the tides in and out. Without that experience of those in-between places, what would become humans would never have walked out of the oceans in the first place. So, in very real ways, the sun and the moon are essential for our life here on Earth, at least in the form that we are so familiar with and take for granted. So you can think about magic this way too. Yes, there are solar forms of magic that are more about working with archetypes, working with the more abstract levels of reality. And there are more lunar kinds of magic, where we are working with the reflected light of the sun. We are working with physical things. We're working with the stuff of three-dimensional existence, because everything above has a corollary below. So Mars is red in the sky, but Mars is also red in my little red carnelian. And both of, even though this is a reflection of a deeper principle, that doesn't mean that the reflection isn't already anchoring that intention down here in the world. And we can work with this in a similar way that we work directly with the archetypes. One is not better, they're just different, and they have different places to be used. So I want you to think about this when you are contemplating the kind of magic that you are working with, or the kind of anything else that you're working with. You know, we need our abstract concepts. We need our theories that guide how we move, but we also need stuff that's relatable. And to pick one as better over the other puts us into some pretty awkward positions. And it's that choosing one versus the other that causes many, many of the problems that we see around us today. My team is better than their team, and therefore I should have better special privileges. or they should be pushed away and pushed aside because they don't know what they're talking about. Can you see where the problems start coming up here? From these basic terms of recognizing, yes, polarity is important. But when we grab one side of the polarity and dismiss the other side, we can't learn the wholeness of the situation. And so much of what magic is all about is learning how to play the polarities off of one another so that in that stretch and contract, we break down the stuff that holds us into place so that we can grow into something bigger. Why astrology becomes so important when we're talking about magic. Astrology was originally invented as a tool for doing magic because it's an excellent description of how we stretch and contract and stretch and contract. Each one of the planets has its own version of stretching and contracting energies. And the myriad combinations that they create together ends up with all the diversity that we see all around us. And the role of the magician is to learn how to be a conscious co-creator with this process on all levels, the abstract archetypal level, as well as the physical manifest level. Because it's when we are aligned on all levels, when we are aligned physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, it's kind of like the tumblers of a lock. When they are all aligned, the energy just up and down with a lot less resistance. And that feeling of rushing up and being connected is what gives us that peak experience feeling, that sense of transcendence, as well as a sense of immanence, of being able to be alive and aware fully in spirit when we are manifesting in 3 dimensions. So all of the magical theories of the West are designed to be able to play these different oppositions off of one another. So I'm using high and low magic as one example today to give you something to think about. But it applies to other things. Tomorrow we're going to dive into white magic and black magic for the same reason, because these terms are loaded when we begin to add on our judgments about what's good, what's bad, and what those judgments mean about who I am and what other people are. And those who are learning how to live a magical life need to come to grips with the power that our judgments have to put things in their places, shape our realities in ways that at the end of time actually prevent us from being able to see reality as it is. They limit us as much as they free us in the way that we think. And those who are living magically understand the pros and cons of all those models that we create for ourselves, right? Okay, does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about high and low magic and the way it's been conceived? I know it's a Saturday, so there probably aren't as many people online right now. You're all doing something fun? I hope so. To give everybody a minute because it takes a second before I can see typing happen. Nope. We're all good today. Okay. Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, little snippets of magic, things for you to think about. Today, think about how you make classifications in everything that you work with. What is high versus low? What is sophisticated versus mundane? What is above versus below? And where you might apply that in other parts of your life. As we continue this adventure together. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about, as I said, black versus white magic. You definitely want to tune in for that. Lots of preconceived notions happening there. And lest I forget, you're all welcome here. If you're tuning into the replay, feel free to comment in the comment section. I will get back to you when I can. Talk to each other. We all have fabulous perspectives on these things. We all grow faster when we share with one another, just like that whole sense of complementary opposites. We understand high when we talk about it in the contrast of low. We understand low when we talk about it in contrast of high. We also begin to understand when we talk to each other. I see myself more clearly through the way you talk about the situation, and so forth. We are all mirrors to one another, as they say. So I hope you enjoy this weekend, and I look forward to our conversation. Oh, we have comments. Pat says, using different language, this getting into alignment is the theme of a book on healing I just finished. Excellent. What was the name of the book? See if she gets a time to get it in there. God, there's a lot of delay today. Anyway, so again, feel free to join in the conversation anytime. Anything in the Crossroads of Magic and Mastery is public, so you can take these videos and you can post them someplace else. If you want to share little snippets, feel free. Not just my stuff, but anything else, any of the other creators posts in this group. When creators share their blog posts, they share their work, it's always helpful to like and share and comment, because it helps the whole community be more present on the online world. And Pat says the book she's reading is called Defy Gravity. I like that. It's a good title. All right, everyone. I will see you tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Am I showing my age there? Probably a little bit. I will talk to you all in our next conversation. Thank you for tuning in. See you later.